Let me tell you about other people. You cannot master your relationships with others until you master your relationship with yourself. And let me not use a gender-ish word. You cannot have peace in your boundaries, your relationships, without having peace within yourself. There is no path where you are at peace, where you are in community, where you are in love, where you are surrounded by love, and where the nasties are kept out, or at least the nasties have boundaries set. You cannot have that with other people without having that within. And that's what today's video is about. Camera C. Are you paying attention, Camera C? See, that's me. I'm setting a boundary. I'll tell you an ironical story about inside and outside relationships, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to be a little revealing. I had a best friend growing up, and she shall remain nameless, but I think I would have been totally sunk and lost without her. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania that was 300 plus acres. So it's much more than that, actually, like 360 acres. Large farm. We raised veal. We raised full-on cattle. We had soybeans. We had corn. And we had space. And up over one of the hills and 3 properties down was my friend. And we'd get together and we'd play. And she was one of the only people, I really should look her up on the social media or something. She was one of the only people in my life that understood me as an LGBTQ, as a trans, as a non-binary human being. She saw me. And she actually didn't even think twice about it, as far as I ever remember, because we would get together and play Wonder Woman. And we were both Wonder Woman. We would get together and do like adventure. And we were just both ourselves. And we would get together and be, what was the other one we'd be? I Dream of Jeannie, or we'd be doing Bewitched, because those were syndicated, not original airings. I'm not 506 years old. But we would pretend and have play and have expression. It's actually pretend, I don't want anyone to get it twisted. This is authentically who I am. And the authentic expression was through play with this friend. And it was no big whoop to her. It wasn't even like a thing enough to be a whoop or not a whoop. It just was life, and we were friends and we had fun. But years later, that kindness stuck with me, because no one else saw the real me. And this is something that happens to a lot of LGBTQ people, but it happens to a lot of non-LGBTQ people, non-trans people, non-binary people, that you grow up in a household or a place where no one at school, no one in the family, no one at church, no one you encounter has any bandwidth, let's put it as nicely as we can, has any bandwidth to even care to see the real you. And humanity, I feel, is getting better. We're treating each other with kindness, and we're raising people to be amazingly supported and loved. But if you grew up in the absence of that, I want to tell you today that being kind to yourself is infinitely more difficult if you have no examples. Being kind to yourself is infinitely more difficult if you have no examples. So you're trying to make something up out of whole cloth, being kind inside yourself to yourself, when you have not had someone show you what it's like to be kind to you, which is why I make the videos I do, by the way. So you have at least one experience of someone being kind to you. even if it's parasocial. For me, it's real. You're worthy of kindness. You're worthy of love. And you forget that. That's why I coach people. That's why I make videos. You're perfect as you are. And there are tons of skills I can teach you, right? That's the dynamic. That's the path we're on. And I'll let you know that without those examples, it's exceedingly hard to learn to do it within yourself. But it's still possible. And I'll give you some hot tips today. Number 1, create a 3-tiered system. Someone in you needs kindness and acceptance. Someone in you is giving kindness and acceptance. And there's even someone above and beyond that who can help both of those characters be free and be okay. The last thing you need is that middle person trying to, heal your inner child. The last thing you need is all this self-judgment of like, oh, I screwed it up. It's not working. So we're talking about layers and layers and layers of acceptance, a lifelong journey and a lifelong learning. And you need to even be kind to yourself when you're learning to be kind to yourself. Do you hear my shoe? Squeaky squeak. You need to be kind to yourself when you are learning to be kind to yourself. Take breaks. This one's really ironic. Watch Netflix, have some snacks. Not a sponsored video. Snacks did not sponsor this video. We get into this perfection mode where we're doing our self-care so violently, so self-hatily inside of us that there is no bandwidth to eat some Snappy Crisps and be okay. Eat some Snappy Crisps and be okay. Take a break. Don't be doing punitive self-care 24/7. It ain't all that. And ironically, it'll make you give up. And you don't want to give up. You want to sustain. You want to be in for the long haul. Last tip. If you've not seen what a kind relationship is like, you won't be able to do it within yourself and with other people. It takes time. It takes skills. It takes breaks. But most of all, it takes a clarity about why you're doing this. If you are a person of service in the world, I would ask you to write down in your journal. I almost thought of jokingly like trying to pronounce journal in a funny way. Journal. In your journal, I would like you to write down why you're on this spiritual path. And it's okay if it's selfish reasons. Like, I need to frickin' heal. I had a horrible childhood. I'm just reliving intense patterns 1 trillion times a day, right? We get into it for those reasons too, because we're desperate. But also, you want to be a kindness in the world. You want to be a walking angel. And there's stuff in your way to really doing that fully and completely. There's stuff in your way to being able to do the yoga, have the family, have the career, have the art. There is stuff in your way to running a company, having relationships. There's stuff in everybody's way. And so you should get crystal clear about what you're in it for and list that out in your journal. Not because you're going to automatically get to those endpoints. You may go on a different journey in between. But you deserve some motivation and some kindness. Think about why you're doing this. And take good care. I'll see you next time.